Hello, welcome to my garden. I'm taking advantage of the lovely weather by sitting outside and doing some work because, you know, it's so much nicer than sitting indoors. I'm about to be disturbed by all sorts of things, ice cream vans, wailing sirens, next door's dog barking, but just for the moment, we'll enjoy the silence. There's enough of that. Anyway, onto a project. I get inspired by the strangest things, you know, and we run a lot of things on social media. And a little while back on a Facebook group, I decided to put one of those posts up, you know, what got you inspired with the paranormal? The wind just got up just as I started saying that. That's a little spooky. But anyway, so I popped this post up saying, what inspired you to get into the paranormal? So anyway, Juliet puts up this book. And for those of you who've holidayed on the Norfolk Broads, it may well be a book that you're familiar with. Certainly anybody with a paranormal interest would have got a copy of this to read whilst chugging along on their boat, looking at the endless scenery sliding by. It's the good old Ghosts of the Broads by a guy called Charles Sampson is actually his name. And yeah, most of you are going to know the familiar look of this book. If I put up an image of the front, you can see what I'm talking about. It's that famous skull with all the sort of bits going through it, with Ghosts of the Broads across it in great big letters. That's the 1973 edition, I do believe, and it's, you know, it's got that sort of approach that lots of ghost stories and books had in the 70s. For those of you who are familiar with what got me into the paranormal, was reading Pan horror and ghost story books, and they all had these like really lurid front covers featuring all sorts of scary images. So yeah, they're following suit. It's a very 70s thing. So we share this little bit of news, you know, we pop it on our Facebook group just to try and get a little conversation going, because it's what we try to do. You know, you always want to get some kind of conversation going on your groups, and hopefully people will be interested and say, oh yeah, I watched this, I saw that, I did this. But it actually brought up some other interesting facts. Most of the interesting facts centered around the fact that people were telling me that you do realise that the book is a bunch of lies. The stories are all fiction, there's no truth in them whatsoever, and he completely invented them. Apparently someone researched in the 1980s and found out that all of the names that are mentioned in the book are fake. So anyway, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you something that I've got, and then we're going to look a little bit deeper. I decided I want to get my own copy. This came up on eBay. It's a 1931 first edition. I'd like to say I spent a huge amount of money buying it, but I didn't actually. It was £9.38, which is a bit of a bargain. The wind's got up again. This is getting very creepy. They're trying to tell me something. But anyway, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to read the first little section in the book, Mr. Sampson's introduction. Or in case you don't believe me, there's where it says. And here we go. In placing this little book in the hands of the reader, the author wishes to thank all of those who have assisted in its compilation, and hopes that its perusal will charm those who scan its pages, as much as it rejoiced the writer's heart in getting together the material within its covers. This has been no mean task, entailing searches and researches to an almost incredible extent. Many of the items are historically accurate, whilst a good deal has of necessity had to be gleaned from traditions and unwritten records direct from the lips of the local indigenes. How much of it is actually true must be left to the gentle reader's own discretion. But it makes interesting and entertaining reading, especially to all those who are familiar with the places mentioned. All the world loves a lover, and most of us love a good succulent ghost story, here we have stories of both. Of course, this got me to thinking that's often a very dangerous thing to start this working, because you go off on all sorts of tangents. It's that chilling breeze again. I think the spirits know what's coming. Anyway, I thought, well, lots of these places in this book are local to me. Wouldn't it be fun if I took myself and my copy of the book and went and visited some of the places that Mr. Sampson mentions? Tell the stories and then do some little bit of digging. Because the strange thing is, many of the stories in this book, which are apparently all fiction and lies and completely made up, have actually gone onto the historical record and are quoted as ghost stories from our region. So, are they lies, or is there an element of truth? I don't know, but I'm very interested to find out. So, watch carefully, folks, because over the next few weeks, I'm going to go out with Mr. Sampson, and we're going to visit some of the many places he mentions. A quick look at the contents. I can see a couple of suspects straight away. And the first one I'm thinking of is one right here that I've visited many times in the past. St. Benet's Abbey. Yeah, I think I'm going to go and tell that story, and then we're going to have a look at the truth and see exactly what else we can find out. This is going to be very, very interesting indeed.